You're listening to The Agentic Executive, the daily briefing for high-agency operators who want clarity, priority, and direction in 10 minutes or less. I'm Adrian Cross, and today we're going to talk about something that quietly destroys leverage, the work you think is moving, that's actually just sitting there, idle.
And not because people are lazy or your strategy is broken. It's the weird in-between space, the draft waiting for your review, the deal that's almost done, the AI output you generated and never used. All those invisible pauses where nothing is actually happening, but everyone assumes it is.
Those pauses have a name: latency. Not workload, not complexity. Latency. The time between one step finishing and the next step actually starting. And for most executives and operators, the biggest throughput loss isn't from bad decisions, it's from decisions and actions that just wait.
If you've ever looked at your week and thought, I'm slammed, my team is busy, but somehow everything still feels slow, that's usually not a motivation problem. That's a latency problem. The system reveals the truth here. Work is piling up in the gaps between your actions, not just on your to-do list.
Today, we're going to give you a one-page tool for seeing those gaps, an executive latency map. One core idea, 3 moves: trace, tag, tighten. By the end, you'll know exactly where your work stalls and how to shrink those gaps with simple rules and some smart AI support.
Think of it as a heat map of where your leverage quietly leaks away. Once you see it, you can't unsee it, which is a good thing.
Let's define the tool. An executive latency map is a single page where you list the places your work routinely waits longer than it should, not where it's hard, not where it's ambiguous, where the next step is obvious but still doesn't happen for a day, a week, sometimes a month.
On that page, we're going to sort those delays into 4 buckets. Routing, where does this go? Ownership, who actually moves it? Context, what information is missing to act? And courage, am I just avoiding a call, a no, or a push because it's uncomfortable?
If you only remember one thing from this episode, remember this: clarity is leverage, especially in the spaces between your actions. The latency map is just a way to make those spaces visible and fixable.
So let's walk the 3 moves: trace, tag, tighten. We'll keep this practical. You can literally do the first pass on a single sheet of paper after this briefing.
Move 1. Trace. You're not diagnosing your entire life. You're running a quick scan on a recent, real week. Open your calendar, your inbox, your task tool. Pick the last 5 to 7 days that felt typical, not crisis mode, not vacation week.
Then you're going to hunt for stalls. You're looking for 10 to 20 specific items where progress paused for 24 hours or more and there wasn't a good structural reason. So not legal needed 3 days to review a contract, if that's the standard SLA. More like, this sat in my inbox for no real reason, or no one touched this thread even though everyone knew the next step.
A few examples, so this is concrete. A deck that waited 4 days for your comments. A candidate who didn't get a yes or no for a week, even though you'd made up your mind. A proposal that sat in draft because no one kicked it to the client. An AI-generated outline you asked for, then never used, so the project stopped there.
You're not judging yourself here. You're instrumenting reality. Patterns create power. Just write a simple list, 10 to 20 items. Each line, what it was, how long it sat, and where it was sitting. In your inbox, in someone else's, in a tool, in your head.
And be strict about the definition. You're only counting objective idle gaps. The next step was knowable. No new information was required, but nothing moved. That's latency. "I was deciding what the strategy should be" is not latency. That's actual thinking work.
If you do this honestly, you'll end up with a list that's slightly uncomfortable, but extremely useful. That's the trace move. You've captured where work actually waited.
Move 2. Tag. Now we classify each stalled item into one of the 4 latency types: routing, ownership, context, or courage.
Let's start with routing latency. That's when the work stops because the system doesn't know where something goes next. You have a message, a task, a doc, and the quiet question in the background is, what lane does this belong in? Which channel? Which team? Is this a project or just a one-off favor?
In practice, routing latency sounds like, "I wasn't sure whether this was product or ops," or "I didn't know if we treat this as sales or success, so it just sat." Every time the system hesitates on where does this live, you add latency.
Next is ownership latency. The work stops because no one is clearly on the hook to move it from A to B. 5 people are copied. Everyone assumes someone else is driving, and the outcome is predictable. Nothing happens.
Ownership latency is any item where, if you ask who is the single accountable owner right now, you get a fuzzy answer or 5 names. That fuzziness turns into days of silence.
Third, context latency. The work can't move because the next actor doesn't have what they need to act quickly. The brief is vague, the goal is unclear, the constraints are missing. So they stall, not out of resistance, but because the cost of getting clarity feels high in the moment.
Context latency shows up as replies like, "Can you clarify what good looks like?" Or, "I'm not sure what the priority is here." Or no reply at all, because they don't even know what to ask. You end up with a half-formed task that no one wants to touch.
And finally, courage latency. This is the most human one. The next step is emotionally uncomfortable, giving real feedback, saying no, pushing back on a misaligned request, or making a call that closes off options. So the work waits while you procrastinate on a conversation.
You'll recognize courage latency in items that have been on your list for weeks, where you keep telling yourself you're thinking about it, but in reality, you're avoiding a 5-minute uncomfortable interaction. High-agency operators are not immune to this. They just get better at labeling it.
So you take your list of 10 to 20 stalled items and you tag each one. R for routing, O for ownership, C for context, or K for courage if you like the irony. 1 letter per line. No overthinking.
When you're done, stand back and look for the dominant pattern. Do you have a column full of ownership issues and almost no context problems? Or is everything bottlenecked on your courage queue, tough calls you haven't made? The pattern tells you where your leverage is leaking.
The system reveals the truth. You may feel busy for one set of reasons, but your latency map will show a very different story. Maybe the real constraint is that no one ever knows who owns the ball after a meeting ends, or that every project waits for you to provide context you never wrote down.
Now move 3. Tighten. This is where we turn insight into system design. For each latency type, you're looking for one small rule or AI assist to shorten the gap, not a massive reorg. One reversible rule per category.
Let's walk through them. If routing is your main problem, you need standard routes. For example, any cross-functional question defaults to a specific channel or owner by rule. Or every inbound idea gets routed into a single backlog, not sprinkled across Slack, email, and random docs.
You can also use AI here. Have an AI agent watch a specific inbox or Slack channel, classify new items, and propose the likely destination. This looks like a product issue assigned to X. Your job becomes approving routes, not figuring them out from scratch each time.
If ownership latency dominates, design explicit owners. One simple rule: Every meeting ends with a single named DRI, directly responsible individual, for each outcome plus a due date. No plural owners, no team, one name.
You can backstop that with AI as well. Have an AI summarizer capture meeting notes and highlight, in plain language, owner, Alex, due, Thursday. If the AI can't infer an owner, that's a signal the meeting never actually assigned one.
For context latency, your lever is what I'd call context packets. Before you hand anything off, to a human or to an AI, you include 3 things by default: the goal, the constraints, and the definition of done. Just those 3 dramatically reduce back and forth.
AI can help you generate those packets. You can prompt, draft a context brief for this project, including goal, constraints, and done definition based on this thread and this doc. Then you quickly edit and send. The friction to provide context drops, so you're more likely to do it.
For courage latency, rules look different. They're often about time boxing and pre-committing. One example, if an item feels uncomfortable and has been on your list for more than 7 days, it automatically becomes a calendar block for a direct conversation. No more silent stewing.
You can give AI a role here too, but carefully. For instance, use AI to draft the first version of a difficult email or a talking points outline for a hard conversation. The assist removes friction, but the actual courage still has to come from you.
So, to recap, Titan, standard routes for routing, explicit DRIs for ownership, context packets for context, and time-boxed AI-assisted conversations for courage. 4 small levers, big latency reduction.
Let's ground this with a few quick archetypes so you can see how it plays out in real roles.
First, a founder. Their map might show a ton of courage and context latency. Investor updates they're delaying, product decisions they're sitting on, docs they started but never framed properly for the team. Tightening for them might mean a weekly decision hour on the calendar, where they clear 3 uncomfortable decisions with pre-drafted AI briefs.
Second, a VP in a larger org. Their big pattern is often ownership latency. Cross-functional initiatives stall because no one is clearly on point after the big kickoff. A simple fix. Every initiative has an ops owner by default, and every meeting ends with named DRIs and dates, automatically captured and distributed.
Third, an independent operator or solo consultant. Their latency map is usually dominated by routing and courage. Inbound inquiries, half-warm leads, proposals they haven't followed up on because they're not sure where each should live, or they're hesitating to ask for the actual commitment.
For them, Titan might look like a single CRM or pipeline view where every lead has a stage and a next action, plus a standing rule that no lead lives in deciding for more than 7 days without a direct nudge.
Notice the pattern here. None of these require a new tool stack or a reorg. They're small, precise rules that shrink the distance between done with step 1 and started on step 2. Precision drives agency.
Before we close, a quick word on AI's role and one trap to avoid. AI is excellent at detecting stalled threads, summarizing context, proposing likely owners, and drafting decision prompts. But if you're not careful, you can create a new layer of latency, piles of AI-generated summaries and suggestions that you never act on.
The safeguard is simple. Every AI assist you deploy should either reduce the number of hops or shorten the time between hops. If it just adds another thing to read, you've increased latency, not decreased it.
So use AI to flag threads that have gone quiet for more than, say, 72 hours. Draft context packets you can quickly approve. Suggest owners when multiple people are present. And turn long chains into an action list with clear next steps and deadlines.
And always ask, does this AI agent move the ball closer to done or just create a prettier view of the ball sitting still.
Let's turn this into an immediate action you can take today.
After this episode, grab a blank page. Step 1. Trace. List 10 to 20 items from last week that sat idle for more than 24 hours with a clear next step. Step 2. Tag. Mark each one as routing, ownership, context, or courage. Step 3. Tighten. Pick the single latency type with the most entries and design one small rule or AI assist to reduce that pattern this week.
Don't try to fix everything at once. That's how this turns into an over-engineered project you abandon. Start with the dominant latency type, apply one rule, and observe the throughput change for 2 weeks. Then iterate.
Remember, you don't just manage tasks. You manage the space between tasks. That's where hidden leverage lives. Make your next move count by tightening those gaps on purpose.